Good afternoon, it's Joyful Hermit. It's been quite a weekend. I've had quite a lot of changes and decisions to make and make adaptations. Pain is part of it. Coming to grips with a lot of pain that is increasing, and exhaustion from pain, and the advancement of this arachnoiditis is what I think it is, but also just coming to reality with other people and loved ones in particular. But I've made some errors this weekend, and it happens with me even just with texting. I get memory blackouts from when the pain gets really bad. And so I ended up sending a text meant for one person that went to someone else that wasn't best to go. And in fact, not to even be discussing the things that I discussed. But some of that comes from just some trauma or upset that occurs. So I came to some realities, and it needed to happen. And I've tried to have it for a good 5 years, even 10, 11 years, of more direct talk or coming to agreement with loved ones. And I think it's hard for other people I know it's hard to admit that something's been too hard, that they're tired, or that they are burned out from me, for example. I'll just get down to brass tacks with it. It'll be 40 years this August with the car accident. And my husband had been away the year before. So my children were very young. The boy was an infant, a tiny infant. And the next child, a daughter, was 5 years old. And the older daughter was 7. Oldest daughter was 7, elder daughter. And so then I had this, so we were having to do all this on our own. The husband was in this lovely area and taking care of himself, and had a new principalship. And as it turned out, having affairs. Kept one from where we were before and had a new one. double dosed, or maybe more, but at least double dosed. And I was back there, got the house sold, and still he didn't want us up there. Finally, I insisted. But it was the beginning of the end of the marriage, and then that's when the accident happened. And I've been through this all before, but it's a little background material for those who are just tuning in. So it's 40 years, these children, nearly 40, will be this summer, that they dealt with a mother who had a lot of pain. And as I reminded the one today, the adult daughter today, who has really done the most as far as at least more recently and things, and growing up, she did a lot. She was more interested in that. The other one is really more sensitive, and it takes a means to handle that kind of stuff. Someone who has pain or surgery. The one was able to would tickle and scratch my big scar, and while it was healing, and would bring me things, try to cheer me up, or rub my shoulders, or rub my neck, do all that, more hands-on when I needed pain relief as a child. And the oldest one, though, had maybe more responsibility. I think she did have more responsibility, like going places. She was the eldest, and she carried that well. It was hard. She was 11. She had a younger sister and a brother who was 5 years younger, that I think he was 4 years old. And they had to be flown back from California to the Midwest to spend time with their grandparents while I had this surgery, and ended up in the hospital longer. And then my parents had so a lot of responsibility, and all these years. And then I'm very religious, and I'm different. I'm different, spiritually different. And that was hard on children when they got to a certain age and noticed that I wasn't like other mothers. So it came to a head again this weekend. And I was invited to watch one of them in part of their career. But I could just tell. And it's, we know when there's tension, when there's, I was invited the night before, which was lovely to be invited. I realized I hadn't seen this daughter for 5 months, since before Christmas. We lived 6 miles away. I mean, I'd seen her on TV and stuff. I hadn't seen her in person. And so, but she graciously, I was invited to come. And then when I get there, though, I could tell it was too much seeing me. But this one had called on my birthday, really lovely, talked with me for a long time, and got me a lovely gift, really a life-changing gift. These supplements that are helping my intestines. Paid for them. They were expensive. And the other two didn't call. Well, the ones cut me off totally. The one did text happy birthday late at night. So late at their time, and I knew it couldn't take even hearing my voice. Burnout. They had too much suffering. And they probably are even, who knows, but I think it's crossed their minds if they'd been better off if we'd remained in this other state, or if they'd lived with their dad who had money and health and wasn't. I'm a very religious person. That can be hard on, who knows what all. But I think we made breakthrough this weekend. I did. I've been asking for forgiveness for years, and we can't make people forgive us. And even trying to find out why, what is it? Well, it's hard for children to tell their mother, what's wrong with them, what's hard about it. And I know some things. Even my texts are long, or the comments I would leave just bothered them, just for whatever reason. Because it's me. They're burned out. And it was too much. And so I reminded today the one when I was expressing this, that I need to be with people who enjoy me and who appreciate or need something from me. I have something that they need. And talking about God is something I do and I enjoy. But, and I love watching my kids or being with them. I would love to visit and spend time. But it's too hard on them. 40 years. So I reminded the one today, texting with her about this situation, that it has to stop. I am forgiving myself. That was a big thing this weekend that came up. In all of these talks we've had about forgiveness, I realized I had not forgiven myself. But I have now. I have forgiven myself. God is forgiving me. And I'll know when the kids have been able to forgive me, they will be comfortable around me. and they won't. That will be the sign. I think when we've forgiven someone, we're able to be around them without tension or without a curt response, or even just kindly saying, I just have to say how hard it was for me to be around you. One of them had to say that, or said it. This was last summer, but I don't know exactly why it was so hard to be around. I was so hard for her to be around. But probably the pain, or just being reminded of the pain and those years that I had no medication. Just this weekend, it's hard. On myself, the pain has been unbelievable. It's, the blackouts are bad. I lost a check. The one was paying me for the birthday gift, and I've lost the check. Maybe it flew out of my pocket, or might be in, I don't know. I was in so much pain. I have blackouts. So, I was looking for something to drink. I got all these blood tests today because we're going to make sure my kidneys are okay. My pain doctor is. But it's made a difference having these videos, because as Dr. H has even said, you are complimented now. He says you don't get compliments, and it's been wonderful. Thank you. I mean, I'm not letting it go to my head. God makes sure of that. Too much pain. But I appreciate the positivity of those who have enjoyed what I have to say. But forgiving ourselves is very important. And then also, it takes courage to finally realize that our loved ones don't want to have to be the ones to cut off. They don't. But I reminded them, I said, how many adults can handle taking care of sick elderly parent for even a year? They put them in a nursing home, or they don't try it at all even to take care of them. These kids have taken care of me. It'll be 40 years of their lives. And all of the bizarre things that happen. Even now, they don't even know about the homeowner people and that battle, which I've got that under control. I'm not letting it get to me at all. Not at all. But it did for a while. See, so all that drama, the trauma, the financial stresses we had growing up, the kids did, and just the pain that I had. Hard for kids to see their parent like that. And when they are trying to have a childhood. See, so I even told this daughter in a text, I said, and I'm going to do anyone who goes after my kids. Well, where are your children? The HOA people a year ago. Well, where's your children? Where's your family? Why don't you have family? Well, they ought to be doing all this stuff. Well, I'm supposed to do it to keep me strong. I still am supposed to do it. I'm still going to do it. Just going to be slower than ever with my pain worse right now. And maybe for good now. Maybe it's on this climb. But other people can just blow away with it because they don't know what it was like for kids to take care of someone and to have that pain and that suffering. And on top of it, to have a very religious parent. Very religious. Oh, you guys think, oh, this is great because you're like me. Very religious. But when you're kids and you see other mothers don't have weird mystical experiences going on and weird things in the house, don't have demonic stuff happening that scares little kids, especially. And then I'm explaining all this stuff to them. And then I convert to Catholicism when they were brought up Protestant, and that was disconcerting for a couple of them. And then my son, who wanted to be Catholic, then when he got older, didn't, and he's very upset about it. And I wished I hadn't let him. So you see, from other people's standpoint, it's easy to think how horrible these adult children not being just, bathing their mother with love and attention, sending her gifts, coming out and helping her, or whatever, No, they are burned out. Finally, this one came close to accepting or admitting. She says, none of us are trying to cut you off. Well, one has officially, and the other one pretty much has. But they don't mean to, is what she was intending to say. But they do it by their burnout. But then to admit that they have burnout, that sounds awful to them, because they wish that they could. They wish they could be who could do what they've done, even. What adults could have hung in so kindly, and especially with all the bizarre stuff that happens in my life, one thing after another bizarre, and they lived through a lot of it. And even got myself into the nice little house in the Midwest after my mother and father died, and I had a little money to get a nice little end-of-life house. And then I have these demonic, horrible, or oppressed at least, evil neighbors who threatened, had to get the protective order. It was hell living there, and they worried about me there. But it was a terrible time to try to sell. The eldest wanted me out of there immediately, but I couldn't lose that money. All I thought about was how hard my mom and dad worked. And it was right when the recession came. I had already had a lot of money in it, in landscaping, that you don't get back. But it was like my travel, my pleasure. And it was glorifying God, all this beautiful nature that was being created. So I felt like I just couldn't lose all that money of my parents that they'd worked so hard for. And no one was buying then. Anyway, it would be hard to sell. I'd have to really discount it. So I hung in there until the police really, and it was getting bad, worse. Even with the protective order, it was running out. But that whole incident, my kids were upset. They were all grown. They had children. Wasn't safe for their children to visit me anymore because of these people next door. And it was just in the county, but in a subdivision. So it took a while for the deputies to arrive to get if something would happen. And just for the children to be subjected to her cursing and yelling at me and shouting things over. Like, your grandmother shouldn't be with little children. She's evil. And stuff like that she would yell. And but the cursing and shoot your gun over at her. She had adult son, and he had a gun, and it was unnerving to say the least. Frightening. So I lived, but so then I wasn't going to get to see my grandchildren, and so they've been through a lot. My kids have been through a lot. Even the demonic things that went on in our first little house, how long it took for us to get it. The 6 times in 7 months we were broken into in our nice little rental house where we had to up and leave at night. The deputy said, "You've got to get out tonight." And I had to farm the children out to people we barely knew from church, to take any, one daughter here, one daughter there. me and the baby another place. And, it was traumatic for them coming home from school and everything stolen and ransacked. And so, yeah, they've been through too much. And, but I can't take the tension myself now of how they feel if I'm around them, like going in all this tension and the criticism or it's just the reaction of burnout of they can't take it anymore. Even I think the one didn't call on my birthday, just the sound of my voice would trigger her into memories or upset. And it's not that they don't love me. They love me very much. So I had to come to this weekend. And also, I've had to come to the pain in my hands and arms, down from my neck at night, and when I wake up in the morning, is horrific. And my leg pain and stuff. So it's increasing. Plus, we've had weather shift. But it's all hitting sort of at once. And I also now am very careful about driving, even more so. Finally made it to Costco last evening. That's probably where the check came out of my pocket when I was pulling out a tissue or getting a credit card out. But, and the fatigue from the pain. I haven't been able to do a thing today except go get my blood work done. And that's very, very close. So I was okay to drive that far. But anyway, it feels good. Oh, this is the other thing I did. I was venting some of this to a niece, and I was getting into memories of things with myself growing up with her mom and aunt and grandparents. And I'm a writer. And I was texting away. My left hand was numb, so I was using my right. And it would just take me away out of myself and out of all this other situation of where I really had to come to an acceptance of myself. And then in the meantime, this daughter did write to me, and she apologized and said that she had been very, very tired the day before. Well, she was fine with other people. It's more than just being tired, but she recognized that she'd been curt and distant and cold. And I hadn't seen her for 5 months. Other than on TV. So it was, and then my grandson spoke to me, but that was strained. He's been on the outs with me. So, it just, God orchestrates these things. He allows. But it was very stressful, and another person there also had shifted. And I pick up on these things. And my niece was trying to say, well, maybe not, and I said, look, I've been told for years. Dr. H has known me for 39 years and says I am spot on with my sensing of people and what's going on. And many priests have said that I nail it, that my instincts and my perceptions, what I'm shown and pick up in nuances, is accurate. So the reason why it might be I may have off, the actual reason. And so it could be, yes, I know the person was tired and under a lot of pressure with things going on in a very stressful career, very high profile and pressurized career. So, yes, but I knew this other. I know it's hard, because the weight of nearly 40 years and the weight of my even getting worse now, it's hard. It's just, they can't take it. And it reminds them, it triggers. So I said, no, I know this and I have to deal with it. But then I'm so exhausted texting that the daughter wrote, so then and I've done this before, it's terrible. So then I started texting again, thinking I was texting to the niece, and it went to the daughter. So that upset her because I had mentioned the response, or how the tension and stressful, and that I can't take it anymore. Myself, I can't. And I was unfair expecting more. Because, well, it's hard. It's hard to give up people. It really is hard to let go. But it's necessary because God is shifting me into this other life now. My mission. This is my mission. And somebody online, these Facebook reels or whatever, so I don't know the woman, but she does a lot about adult-child estrangement. And I can't really call my kids as adult-child estrangement. They have done more than what most well, I pointed out to the one today, I said, my own husband couldn't cope with 3 weeks of my back and neck injured right after the accident, which was nothing compared to after the surgery 3 years later and this arachnoiditis all these years. He was out of there 3 weeks with a slightly, after a car accident, not feeling the greatest, but my neck and spine were hurt. But that was it. That was the tipping point for him. He was done. It wasn't going to be any fun anymore cheating on me if I wasn't even worth anything sexually to him or whatever he thought. So, when an adult couldn't hang in for 3 weeks and these kids did all these years, that says a lot. So, but I think a lot of what I'm also going through is realizing I hadn't forgiven myself for not being able to be and do what they needed and wanted. And of course, rationally you think, well, of course not, you couldn't. But those of you who are parents know, especially mothers, know that sense of your children are always your children. And you want to be there for them in the way that they want and need. But if you're a mystic on top of it, I've read enough of mystics, and the ones who had children, it was hard. That was hard on the children. That alone was hard on them, having a different mother. So, and some of them who were famous types, who had gifts of healing and gifts of this and that, they would resent the mother for the fame or the popularity and for the gifts the person had. And everybody, and not only that, some of it was just that their mother was always being called upon. Come help this person, come help that person. And in today's world, come to do this, speak to this parish or that parish. So I think there's a woman in Texas who has external stigmata. And there was a man in Michigan who had external stigmata. He died a few years ago, or maybe 8 years ago or something. And he also had gift of healing. So he became in demand. But he was married and had older adult children. But the wife had to adapt. She no longer had her husband to herself. He was being in demand. And he had a mission that he fulfilled. for God. And some wives wouldn't have handled it that well. But she did, but it was still hard. So lots of things to factor in. But also in our lives, those of us who have pain, or all of us getting older, something that progresses. When you get to a point where you see a surge of things happening, I don't want that neck surgery, and I'm hoping it'll simmer down. But my legs have been progressing for 2 or 3 months now. Terribly painful at night, so I'm not sleeping well. That's one thing. And even my teeth and stuff, from my kidney failure, the dry mouth has caused problems with the gums. So I have to do special stuff with them, with the gums. So it's just, it's a lot. And we come to these times where we have to just simply accept a lot of things. And I realize I have to be the one to say, hey, I don't want to be in that position again. I loved watching. I loved it. But the stress and the tension, the coldness that someone like me picks up extra much more than maybe other people might. But it was hard. And I thought, I can't do this. I can't. I have to stay in my bailiwick now. I have to be in my, this tailbone wound is awful too. complaining. But, yeah, I think it's good to realize these things and to forgive ourselves. That's the big point. That's the big point I'm making. And also the error I made. That's awful to send a text to someone who it wasn't intended for. That was bad. And I realized I cannot do this texting. My hands can't do it, for one thing. And it's going to have to be verbal. And I'll have to accept the, if someone doesn't want to have a phone call, then that's going to have to be how it's going to be. We won't have communication much because my hands can't do that texting now. It's too painful. So, big weekend, you guys. That's why I haven't been yapping away for a while, but here I am, and I think it's good. I think especially the part about I'd asked God's forgiveness all along. I'd asked my kids' forgiveness. For years I've asked them to forgive me. And but I hadn't forgiven myself. Very important. And it's humbling. And also to realize at a certain point in our lives, like this lady who talks about adult-child estrangement on Facebook, or Facebook Reels, is that I wrote back to the woman, and I told her about the words to pray, love, forgive, and then live your own life. And I wrote to this woman who I don't know, and I said, next time I see one of your videos, I'm hoping that you will be not keep talking about adult-child estrangement and how sad you still are. She's on this for a year now. It's been a year that I've seen her on these. And it's always the same. How sad. And I said, no, you be living your own life now. Live your life. That love your children, pray for your children, forgive your children, and let them go. And that's exactly what I've had to do. And then if I have something they need, they can contact me and I'll be here for them in whatever way. I made that clear. I'm here. I'm here for you anytime you need. If they need, not when it's going to trigger them, not if they don't need, which they don't. It's humbling. It's humbling, but they don't need. Maybe on occasion a talk, I don't know. Don't think so. And so I assured today, I have a support network. I have found my own types. I have found people who are positive about me. And those who can't, unsubscribe. It's simple. And there's not the conflict. It's good. And I can discuss the things openly, God and thoughts of God, and forgiving ourselves today, and of letting go and of appreciating. And this goes for people who notice other people's children and maybe judge. I've had a lot of dear friends and even a couple of doctors who have judged my children because they don't think they're doing enough for me. And they're, not around and don't want to be. And if they do decide we'll give it a try and have mom come watch or whatever, it's hard because things get stirred up from what all these other people don't know, what these children went through and how it affected them. I don't even really know the full extent because I was better just trying to keep my head above water emotionally too, at times, very much so, hanging on for dear life. So, good thoughts and good things happening, and it also is a demarcation for me of my mission, that I am focusing in on my mission however God wants to take it. But it's of speaking of God and of whatever topics happen to come up. And those of you who are interested and love talking about these things and leave comments and whatever, great. And those who aren't, or bored with it or whatever, just click off. That's fine. And then there's no stress or strain. This book came in Coin, thank you. The Daughters of St. Paul. I know Coin is behind this, one of our viewers. This is another book, looks like a new one, from the Crabby Mystic. Growing in Virtue, One Vice at a Time. She is a very clever writer. She's Sister Rhea Hill. Yes, but I know her as the Crabby Mystic. Leah. Sister Mary Leah Hall. I got to get my glasses on her. Hill. That'll be the next surgery, will be my eyes. My cataracts. Hopefully not soon. Okay. Yes, Sister Mary Leah Hill. Growing in Virtue, One Vice at a Time. She calls herself the Crabby Mystic. You'll see on the back, I don't know if you can see real close, she has a nice little smile there, but she can make her face. She's got a good sense of humor. And I'm so grateful for this. Came in the mail today. Check it out. It's a Pauline Publishers, and she's a Pauline sister, Daughters of St. Paul. And she's written this, and I'm sort of thinking I'm going to read it, but it might end up as a gift to my grandson for his graduation coming up here. Because the titles even It's so written for a person who probably, if they saw a book, How to Grow in Virtues, would be maybe turned off, but this is Growing in Virtue, One Vice at a Time. Oh, that sounds interesting. You know, it's going to appeal to someone who doesn't want to deal with real holy. You know, it's clever with how are we going to learn about a virtue from a vice, you know, from something bad. But here's a title, Praying with Fortitude. Real short little chapters. Virtue in the Dark. Armor of God. Let's see. There's one. It's on. There's another one on cowardice. Holster your anger. Isn't leniency okay? Don't name your daughter Prudence. So the humor alone. Early warning system. To be or not to be, master of the world. And she's got good quotes here. Like here's this one. A man who governs his passions is master of the world. He must either rule them or be ruled by them. It is better to be the hammer than the anvil. Where there's a will, there's a way. Being choosy, neighborhood watch, joy and temptation. Just short, good. Just kind, kinder, kindest. Easy ways, pointing out the positive. Easy ways to live a wonderful life and to get rid of vices at the same time. One chapter's called My Preemptive Shot. That sounds interesting. Seeing is believing. Another form of pride. Now that's interesting. Fawning. That kind of pride. Fawning over things. Fawning over ourselves or fawning over others is a type of pride to avoid. She says here, we could even say it is a wimpy kind of pride, sidling around like a victim of circumstance rather than coming to the point, which could be that we want a favor or some privilege because we believe we deserve it. We could label it a backhanded entitlement. Oh, my grandson would like that. He's good at that. He's a good kid, but he knew how to get his grandmother to buy him things. So he's clever that way. Anyway, God bless His real presence in us. His really presence in us. It is. And I know this weekend I've had was arranged by God intentionally as a follow-up to the words to pray, love, and forgive others and ourselves, and to live our lives then. To live your lives. I'm sorry. This is another problem I have with my body issues is I get these horrible burps. It's not gallbladder. It's the arachnoiditis affecting different things and neurological signals that get messed up from the messed up nerves in my back. Somebody kindly suggested I get tested for Lyme disease, but I don't have that. It's the arachnoiditis. It's always that, except for the kidneys. That was something different. Anyway, just to go through that and then to realize I had not forgiven myself. And maybe I'll sleep a little better, who knows. And then also to settle this in my mind and to truly accept that they love me, but their lives are so full now, and my life continues on with worse and worse things going on, and still the same temporal crud. The devil never stops, doesn't stop, but the physical is increasing. The arachnoiditis is doing what it does. It progresses. And it's been miraculous. I'm doing as well as I am now. Other people with this, especially if they'd had it for the years I've had it, would have already been just totally bedridden. But I'm not. That's why I keep pushing. But this weekend I couldn't. There was no push left. And it's getting increasingly like that. So we'll just pray the HOA people can be patient. We're going to have rain again tonight. And then tomorrow I am going to go back out there. But I'm going to have to go even slower with the mudding because I hold what's called a hawk and put mud on it and then slide the mud off. And I think that's affecting my neck negatively, making it all worse. Because the left hand is even worse than the right by far. So I'm going to slow that down, and I'll put less mud on, and it will take longer. But less is okay. And it's okay to live bit by bit by bit, and slow as a snail. The HOA people just don't understand that. So I'll gently explain if they come around again. They've been pretty good lately. So praise God for that. And I'm not bothered by them anymore. God gives us strength. I love them, I pray for them, and I forgive them. They don't understand. That's all. And that's the thing with my children. It takes understanding. And other people, other adults who look in on the situation, they don't understand their lives and what they went through and how many years they gave of themselves selflessly and also under fear and pressure from all the trauma they were living through, trying to adapt to a divorce and a great change in lifestyle, a lot of financial stress, and a mother in terrible pain. So, who couldn't go to their activities often, and yeah, it was sad childhood for them. And yes, blessed, and they know that, but it was sad. So no way around it. And that impacts, even as adults, it does. So I can't call it adult-child estrangement to that degree. It was, I think, and burnout is embarrassing to, nobody wants to think that they burned out. But in all humility, we all would. Any one of us would have burned out long before these kids did. But I cannot put my body through added stress and of facing it and of being with strain and seeing the curtness, the frustration. So I have to be the responsible one here and stop being so selfish and wanting more of them. God wants me doing my mission. So you're going to be stuck with more of me. But I feel comfortable with this. And it was you guys that I was referring to when I said I have a support network. Lots of people who suffer, who understand. And I didn't mention it, but lots of people who love talking about God and don't mind listening to someone who loves to talk about God and matters of God. And more than just the talk, I like how it applies to our everyday life, how God is really in the details. And I am not missing this progression. of the forgiveness conversation, because God was pointing out to me, hey, you forgot forgiving ourselves. So everyone, please don't forget that. Very key in forgiveness is to forgive ourselves. All right, I'm stopping now. Promise. God bless us. I needed to have my drink here. That's why I had more blood tests to see if my kidneys really are okay, because I get so dry. And that's a sign of the kidney problem, so can be. So we're checking it. Thank God for my pain doctor. And I don't know, they must have had 6 vials of blood today. He was checking all kinds of stuff. He cares, and it's wonderful. And my children care, very much so. And I don't think I'm ever going to complain again about, or make little asides of, no one calling or not seeing them in this many amount of time. They need the break, and their lives are, all 3 of my kids have really amazing jobs. I hope they realize that, if they're thinking that, well, we should have stayed and lived with our dad in California instead of in mom's little tiny hometown in the Midwest, these kids have done great in their lives and have had jobs that are astounding for having come from a small town, or having their schooling in a small town, and their junior high and high school, and the one all through from first grade on. He's the one who's the producer at NBC in Manhattan. So at a young age, just amazing how that all fell into place. God has been very good to these kids. I think as a reward for all the good they did their mother and all the sadness that they dealt with, and the working after school and weekend jobs and summer jobs. And I know a lot of kids do that. They do. But these kids wouldn't have had to, had not been for the accident and the divorce. And then we didn't get the child support steadily at all. It was low child support only through high school, and he quit before they were out of high school in one case. 2 cases, yeah. So and then he would pay 1 month and then not the next, and knowing that the California court system was so stacked up. I'm still waiting for the court date. Never happened. They're so backlogged that you can just forget getting justice in some states for the single parent stuff. So that's how it goes. But God provided, and the people in that small town helped us so much. My parents helped extra, and I'm grateful to my sisters who haven't complained. My life sucked a lot away of my parents and our parents' energy, helping me, coming to stay or visit, or helping out here, bits and pieces, and financially also helped. Extra money to help the girls or the grandson in college, and with like special trips overseas, study trips, and my kids studied hard. There was no question they were going to college, and they got the good grades, and so they're to be commended. And I'll have to, if even the HOA people last May and June, when they were on my case, was doing some landscaping, and, well, where are your kids? Why aren't they ought to be here, doing these things for you. They don't get, I'm supposed to do it so that I can keep my hands and my legs moving. So We'll be back at it tomorrow, hopefully with some mudding. All right. I said I was going to stop in a minute, and then I talked another 7 minutes. Oh my, God help me. All my talking. Shouldn't be the joyful hermit. I'm the chatty hermit. We've got the crabby mystic and the chatty hermit. Talk to you later, guaranteed, unless I die first.